welcome back to part 2 of my wagon build. As you can see, I've been pretty busy building this chassis. It's taken me quite a while. What I found out is definitely I need to get a welding table. I've been welding everything on the garage floor, like I'm sure a lot of you when you start out, and it's rough on the knees. But I started off building it with 1x1. I think it's an 1/8 inch wall. Probably a little much, but I just want to make sure it was strong enough. And like I said before, using what I have around the house, the front and rear bumpers and the suspension cradle was made out of some tubing that I had laying around. I think it was left over from either a swing or a bed frame, but that's 1x2, and it's coming together. So the next thing to do, I'm going to put the wood part back on so you can kind of see what it looks like. So here you can see that I mounted the bed of the wagon back on there, and as you can see, I've never seen anything online that had bumpers on it, and I thought it'd be a kind of a good idea to put some bumpers, and later on, you know, maybe some weld little mini tow hooks or little winch or even some lights on there. And as you can see, I left it a little bit long, and I'll show you why. Now you can see why I left it a little bit long. You know, when it's summertime like it is now, and you're out pulling your granddaughter or grandson or even your son and daughter, it's going to get hot, and you're going to need some cool beverages and maybe some lunch when you take the little ones to the park. So I made it a little extra long, that way it doesn't take up any space inside in case another grandchild comes down the way. But right now he'll have plenty of room inside there. So the next step I want to do is start building the rear suspension, and I'll show you that. So here's the swing arm for the rear suspension. Again, using the same tubing, 1x1 by 1/8 of an inch. And also I had some scrap metal that I made these shock tabs with. And the bushings are actually, I went to the local Pep Boys, and they have a bin of scrap, and they were changing out some shocks. So basically I just welded or cut off the top and welded those on top of the swing arm to give me a bushing and just to help it pivot easily. Or so I'm going to mount it and kind of let you take a look at what it looks like. So here I have the swing arm mounted. It's bolted in there, and basically again everything was set off the 3 paint cans as far as the travel and the height of it, the right height. And you can see how it just kind of all came together. And the next thing I'll show you is that I found some shocks, and I'll show you those. So like I mentioned, I did some shopping around. I found these shocks on eBay. And if you do shocks or coilovers for a go-kart, that's where I found them. And I got a total of 4 of them, and they were the perfect size. I was looking for something about a 6-inch or 8-inch, and these actually ended up being an 8-inch center to center, and that was kind of perfect for the right height I was going for. On top of that, they are adjustable. I can adjust the height if I need to. Unfortunately, the spring rate is pretty stiff, so I don't think my grandson will be able to compress them, but if anything, it'll look cool. So I'm going to mount those and show you what it looks like with the shocks installed. So here we have the shocks mounted. The rear suspension is no longer needed the paint cans to hold its weight, so it's totally holding its own weight, and it's looking pretty cool. I think I'm going to put the bed back on and kind of see how that looks, but it's definitely coming along. So I've mounted the bed of the wagon back on and put the cooler again just to kind of get the effect. And one thing I forgot to mention, as far as the rear wheels, that by using the 1x1 by 1/8 of an inch, I was able to buy a 3/4 inch solid rod, and I'm going to use that as the axle, and it fits the stock wheels that I bought and the bushings, and they actually came with the C-clip. So I'm going to either machine or have somebody that hopefully has a lathe that could put a little notch in there that I could put the C-clip on, and that's what's going to hold the rear wheel. So I really lucked out that the 3/4 inch rod fit that tubing perfectly, And that kind of finishes up the rear suspension and the chassis. And stay tuned for part 3 when I begin to tackle the front, which I'm sure is going to be a little more complicated and figuring out. Got steering involved and all that. So stay tuned for that, and thank you again for watching.